8F, Treasure Coast Airport Connector Alternative Alignment Study.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, we're another exciting one as the TPO partnered with the county to complete a study of alignment alternatives for a new roadway known as the Airport Connector that will connect the proposed I-95 and Turnpike interchanges in northern St. Lucie County, known as the Northern Connector to the Treasure Coast International Airport. Both the Airport Connector and the Northern Connector are identified as cost feasible projects in the 2045 long range plan, and we'll reconsider those as we continue to develop the 2050 long range plan. A draft study was completed by Kinley Horn and is being presented for review and selection of preferred alternative for this new roadway. And here from Kinley Horn to present the draft study is Brian Good. Brian.
Chair, board members, good afternoon. So I have the pleasure to present the findings and recommendations associated with the Treasure Coast Airport Connector Alternative Alignment Study. The presentation this afternoon will talk about the purpose and objective of the study. We'll discuss the typical section that's been identified to serve for the corridor. We'll talk about the alternatives analysis and what was evaluated with the study, and then we'll conclude with identifying what is being identified as the preferred alignment. But before allow me to get into that. The purpose of the study was to identify a more direct route connecting I-95 to the Treasure Coast International Airport, thereby increasing mobility and economic development within the region. The objective of the study is to develop a technical analysis with quantifiable measures that will such that a preferred alignment would be able to be identified, which minimizes impacts to residents, property owners, and the environment. A little bit about the public outreach that has been ongoing for this project. We had presented to the CAC, I guess last month. We had presented to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee last month. We also presented to the TAC last month. We're here this afternoon presenting to the full board today. We believe we'll conclude with a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners. These are the characteristics associated that have been identified for the Treasure Coast Airport Connector. A little bit better depiction of this would be this graphical depiction. The overall corridor width is identified to be 160 feet in total width. It has a raised median, a 22-foot wide raised median. It's projected to have 2 travel lanes in each direction, or a 4-lane divided corridor. 5-foot paved shoulders on the outside. The drainage will be served by roadside swales, and we're projecting to have multi-use trails on both sides of the corridor to increase alternative forms of mobility. So the alternative analysis evaluated factors such as long-range planning, public safety, alternative alignments, environmental considerations, and costs. The study limits you see here in red represent just going north of Fort Pierce Farms, canal number 18, I believe, to the north. To the south, it went just south of the Fort Pierce Farms, Canal 1. To the east, we go as far over as Kings Highway. And to the west, we are as far west as I-95. The long-range planning that's previously been conducted for this corridor is, as Peter mentioned, it is currently identified within the 2045 Long-Range Transportation Needs Plan. It's also identified within the county's capital improvement roadway element. It's identified as a future corridor within the county's right-of-way protection map, and was studied by the Department of Transportation as recently as 2021 within the Treasure Coast Connector Corridor Feasibility Study. The public safety benefits associated with this new corridor is it would provide an alternative access to the Treasure Coast International Airport, thereby projecting to reduce congestion along Indrio Road and Kings Highway, improving the safety of those corridors. It's also projected to reduce crashes within the service area over a 30-year period of approximately 1,000 vehicular crashes being reduced, with a cost savings of approximately $160 million in 2020 dollars. What you see here is a spaghetti plot of the 9 alternative alignments that have been evaluated. The alternatives really consist of that 160-foot corridor that I spoke of, looking at different horizontal and vertical geometry such as normal crown and super elevation for tighter curves to look at alternative alignments. But before I start quickly going through the 9 alternative alignments, I wanted to talk about logical termini. So to the east, it makes sense that this more direct route serving between I-95 and the airport would connect at St. Lucie Boulevard. To the west, we have 2 alternatives, logical termini. We have a connection to I-95 north of the golf course. I'm drawing a blank at the Meadowwoods, I apologize. Meadowwoods, as well as south of Meadowwoods. And these 2 logical termini were also used in the Department of Transportation model about analysis that was done in 21. So while part of our scope of work wasn't to include looking at interchange configurations, the county had asked us to conceptualize a couple different, just from a footprint perspective, to look at what different interchange may look at those logical termini with I-95. So we looked at a partial cloverleaf at the northern termini north of Meadowwood. You can see a footprint. You see on the west side of I-95 the FP&L solar array field that is existing today, and in the lower right corner you can see the country club area. This is the southern termini with I-95. The benefit of the southern is the county presently owns a considerable amount of property today at that location, which would maximize utilization of existing county-owned right-of-way should the location be in this particular spot. In addition, we looked at a tight urban diamond interchange. You can see this was a much more compact, minimizes impacts to right-of-ways that are not currently under the jurisdiction of either the state or the county, as well as what a tight urban interchange may look at the southern logical termini south of Meadowwoods.
So with the tight one, would that require, if let's say the airport, which we anticipated to become a big airport, lots of hopefully traffic coming in and out, would that one require you to expand in the future?
Expand the interchange?
Yeah, the interchange in the future.
No, ma'am, I don't believe. I just to be clear, we didn't evaluate. We looked at footprints, but it's functioning. We do tight urban interchanges all the time for the Department of Transportation and the Turnpike Authority.
Thank you.
Alignment A, I'm going to quickly just go, there are 9 of them, so I apologize in advance. I'm going to quickly go through the characteristics of the 9 just so you can see some differences among them. So this has the northern termini to I-95. It has 3 crossings of Fort Pierce Farms Water Control District canals, and what you need to think of when you hear that is bridges or bridge culverts. These are usually larger waterways that require those type of structures for crossing, and obviously the dollars to accompany them. The historical residence, the Immokalee House there on the south, is avoided impacts to. And this alignment identifies 2 residential dwelling relocations associated with it. Approximately 43 acres are needed to be acquired to facilitate this alignment.
Do we have a cost estimate on each one of these models?
Yes, sir, we do, and I will be going through those in a moment.
All right.
Alignment B, again, the northern connection with I-95. We have, again, 3 crossings of waterway or water control district canals. The Immokalee House impacts are avoided. And we have 1 residential dwelling relocation projected with this alignment. Approximately 44 acres are needed for this alignment. Alignment C, we move to the logical termini south of the Meadowwood Country Club. We have 2 waterway crossings, 2 bridges, bridge culverts needed. Impacts to the Immokalee House are avoided. And there are 2 residential dwelling units relocations identified. This acre needs about 37 acres of right-of-way to facilitate. Alignment D, again to the south, 2 waterway crossings, Mockley House impacts avoided, and 3 residential unit dwellings relocations needed. Alignment E, the southern connection with I-95, 2 waterway crossings, impacts to the Mockley House avoided, and 2 residential dwelling unit relocations. Alignment F, to the south, 2 waterways, the Mockley House impacts are avoided, 2 residential dwelling unit relocations. Alignment G, to the south again, 2 waterways. This one, now there is a secondary natural resource besides the Mockley House in close proximity. It's the Drondosky Midden, which is an identified archaeological site within this portion of St. Lucie County. But we believe we are avoiding those impacts. And then 2 dwelling units relocations required and approximately 38 acres of right-of-way required to facilitate it. Alignment H, to the south, 2 waterway crossings. We avoid the Drondosky Midden, as well as the Mockley House, and then we have 2 residential unit relocations. And finally, the last one is alignment I, again to the south of the Meadowwoods, 2 waterway crossings. We have 3 residential dwelling unit relocations and continued avoidance of the archaeological site that's identified. So environmental considerations, we look at these factors as far as evaluating what those impacts may consist of. We look at the national wetland inventories published by FWC, as well as site investigations to evaluate existing wetlands and other surface waters in the area, because obviously they have costs associated with the project. These exhibits identify wetlands and other surface waters for each of the various alignments. We look at endangered threatened species. We believe that any of the alignments in this portion of the county, we would have moderate impacts for gopher, tortoise, wood stork, and caracara exist. And for the remainders, we believe that the potential for low impacts to these species. The cultural resources and contamination site, I spoke to you earlier about the Immokalee residence located on the south side of Immokalee, as well as the Drondosky Midden, which is, I think it's located off of Seminole Road, just to the east side of Seminole Road. And then we have 9 storage contamination monitoring sites that are identified, and we evaluate what that could represent relative to construction costs and mitigation. To the chair's question, cost factors that are evaluated for the various 9 alignments, we look at roadway costs, signalization, structures, bridges, bridge culverts, stormwater management facilities, engineering and regulatory permitting, environmental impact mitigation, right-of-way acquisition, as well as construction engineering and inspection. This provides an estimated overall project cost for the 9 alignments. It has a low cost projected for alignment G of approximately $48 million and a high project alignment cost of approximately $61 million for alignment B.
No.
So the recommendation,
Pues estoy viendo
alignment D is identified as the preferred alignment from the alignments that were evaluated. The reasons why alignment D is being identified as the preferred alignment is it addresses the long-range planning and safety objectives identified by the county. It generally aligns with the northern connector, which is identified in the 2045 LRTP as a developer-funded project. It is the second lowest, identified to have the second lowest capital investment of approximately $49 million. It's projected to have the least amount of wetland impacts, as well as the least amount of right-of-way acquisition to support the development of the corridor. And with that, I would love to answer any questions.
Questions, board? Thank you for a very comprehensive report.
Great.
We have all the data.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question, but I definitely think that any of those alignments that go to the north of Meadowwood are kind of dead on arrival. I don't think anybody in that neighborhood wants a big highway going through the side of their neighborhood.
Yeah, as you were joining.
Good with it?
So, I mean, you can imagine there's almost endless amount of trying to draw lines and different circuitous routes you can come up with. The reason why we felt we were compelled to look north of Meadowood is because within the 2021 study that Department of Transportation did, they looked at alignments north of Meadowood as well. So we felt to be consistent with the planning that had been previously done prior to us, we wanted to include those in the evaluation.
So you're good with D? I want to hear what the county has to say. I want to hear what you guys think. You're good with it?
We're gonna have it presented to us soon, I guess.
Yeah, but
I'm definitely good with this alignment. It's the cheapest, least impacts to wetlands, least amount of right-of-way acquisition.
Could you pull up the D one again?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I think it's decent.
Yeah.
I agree.
I looked at the wetlands and right-of-way acquisition too.
Yeah, I think it's
I
decent.
mean, don't even pay attention to the cost, because whatever that cost is, it's
Doesn't
gonna probably
exist.
triple.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, so.
By the time you actually do it,
Help me get my
That's not
bearings.
real by any means.
Help me get my bearings. So that ties into the southern part of it. What road is that we'll cut through?
The southern part.
Yeah, because it's connecting to 95,
It
right?
ties 95 to the intersection of Immokalee and Kings Highway. St. Lucie Boulevard
Okay,
and Immokalee, or excuse me, and Kings Highway, that intersection.
okay. All right.
This is also going to have the ability to connect to the turnpike.
It would. I mean, that's the next step, the northern connector. So if you were to go another link to the west, connecting the turnpike to I-95, that's what I made reference, that it generally aligns with a conceptual alignment as identified as within the county's planning documents as the northern connector.
That piece right there, that line right there is key to me because from U-Haul Junction to Fort Pierce, there's no exit. And having that ability there, if you live in the north part of the county, you don't want to have to go down to Fort Pierce or Tennessee and then come back on 95. That's to me, that's a key component.
Just get my bearings correct, that is Angle Road, correct?
Down lower.
Get down lower at the very bottom of
Yeah,
it.
that-
Right.
that's what I was.
That lines up with that L20.
Oh, because the reason I'm asking is we've got a lot of developments in that area coming up that,
And that's one of the reasons why the county staff was urgent for this study to be concluded, because there is development pressure within this part of the county.
Mhm.
And staff wants to be aware of like a future alignment, so when applications do come before them, they can.
That's where I was going. So where's Bucky's gonna be on this thing?
it's
North of
a,
this.
Bucky, I'm not a representative of Bucky's, but I believe it's north of the Indrio and Indrio and
That's what I
I-95.
thought.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, this piece is really important for future development plans.
there,
No,
there's
Yeah.
gonna end up being two entrances coming into the airport, because we're gonna have Indrio to the
Mhm.
north,
yeah.
which will run right into the north side of it, and of course, this will run into the south side. What we haven't determined is where the commercial aviation is going to be. Because right now, the south side is totally general, and we have to get land back to develop it, or we take it to the north side of the airport, northwest side. And quite frankly, I think En route road will be used more than the south entrance. But we don't know yet how that airport is going to be laid out. We are in the discussions of that right now.
do we know when this will be projected, Mr. Chair? Like when is, if it's in a plan, if the study's done, like when would we project building it? When would it be built?
I'm sorry, the
When will
road
the road be built?
2 weeks.
This?
2 weeks? Sure.
2050,
What?
2050, 25 years.
25 years.
Not in my lifetime.
Unless there's other needs, unless you prioritize it higher, but we would put it in the outer band, so 2040 to 2050 for its construction.
Well, and that's what I was gonna ask, as far as funding goes, well, and that's what I wanted to understand, as far as funding goes. Obviously, we're looking at TPO potentially funding it.
Right.
Are there opportunities for grants with the state on this, with the federal government? Is there opportunities, like, I
Yeah,
don't,
that's why you want to keep a lot of projects in the hopper, and planning and, like I said, ready to go. But, the board, that's, again, and I keep bringing up the 2050 plan, which, the agenda item after this one is just the beginnings of the 20-year goals, objective policy, but where the rubber meets the road is when you prioritize your needs.
Yeah.
So yes, if this board decides that this is more important than, say, widening Glades Cutoff Road, widening Rangeline Road, widening Jenkins Road, widening, some of our other needs, or equal, that's when we could start honing in on the day. So that's, I gave the last date is 2050 because of the plan, but this board could prioritize it to be sooner and looking at the funding sources as well. So.
And then as far as the impact to the actual build out of the airport and or other carriers coming in, do we know, like if we were to put this road higher up in the priority list, how much would it impact as far as bringing more carriers in and stuff?
Well, it's almost a chicken and the egg thing, right? It's
Right, so I'm
the
just
carriers, if we had contributions from some of the private sector toward this type of improvement, contributions from, involvement, partnerships, public-private partnerships, then yes, it could get conducted a lot more sooner than that. And that would facilitate then greater growth at the airport, greater success at the airport. I mean, the county spent a lot of resources on trying to revitalize the airport, try and redevelop the airport and create jobs and economic opportunity. And so this would facilitate that. So all of these would go hand in hand, but it's tough to say which would come first before the other.
Thank you.
So.
Councilwoman Morgan.
So it's, I guess the county is going to be getting a presentation because I was going to defer. I mean, this is your neck of the woods, I guess you could say. And I understand it out so far. However, I thought we were going to have an airline in here last year, and I'm hoping maybe it'll be this year. I see the smiles on the faces because that's going to really be the key part of bumping this up and moving it up.
Right.
Is that connection is critical, not only just to the airport, but also for the port. So whatever the county, I would go with what the county would like to see with whatever plan. And when I heard the least wetlands impact, that kind of got me on that one. The only other thing is, so serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and you remember Ed Lowndes, is it Immokalee or is it Immokalee? And I'll leave that.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. So board, it comes back to us now for a motion.
Move approval of the recommendation for alternative alignment D.
I'll second it.
So moved and properly seconded that we support the recommendation D for the Treasure Coast Airport Connector Alternative Study. Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have a recommendation.